I want to thank Sister Sarah for once again opening up her home and blessing us with her hospitality. I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I see so many lovely faces. We missed y'all last class. We were looking for y'all last class. So what we're going to do tonight, rather than go into the lesson that I had planned for tonight, so we just kind of review. And there was something that I just want to share with you. You know, sometimes you go through life and things are going smoothly. You have plans to do certain things, and then something comes up. You ever watch a television program and you're watching something that says, this program has been, preempted by some. Well, one of those situations happened today. I was studying for the lesson and reviewing my notes, and I went on Facebook and I saw a post from a young brother in the Lord. I watched this young, well, he's actually in his early 40s now, but I watched him from a kid grow up. A few years ago, several years ago, he was involved in an accident, and he's quadriplegic. He's paralyzed. So when I opened up the post this morning, Facebook, I saw a post that he posted. I want to read it to you. This is his actual post. He says, "I'm so tired of the situation I'm in. I wish I had the nerve to end it all with my own hands." And then he had another post that said, "I feel like eating a hollow point for lunch." A hollow point is a bullet that, will blow the back of your head off if you shoot it in your mouth. So this young brother was in distress. And let me just read the reply that I wrote to him. I mean, a lot of people wrote, long list of replies. Stay strong, keep your head up, all of these things, don't do it. This is what I wrote to him. No one who is not in your shoes can begin to understand what you are feeling at this moment. But God knows, and He understands. He has a purpose for your life, even when you can't see what He's up to. You are His child. You must trust His heart and know that He is with you even in your darkest hour. Go to Him. Pour your heart out to Him. Then be still and listen for His answer. It may come in ways you don't expect. It may come through a person, a situation, etc. Trust Him, my brother. I love you. This bothers me because I have counseled people who are on the verge of suicide. I've had people call me in the middle of the night suicidal. You know, I have known Christians who have committed suicide. And there are times in your life when the circumstances of your life seem so dark, seem so hopeless at that time, at that moment, that you feel like, you know, I don't see a way out of this, you know. And it's at that moment that we need, first of all, to be sensitive to, you know, because some of the posts that I read, people respond to them was kind of insensitive. It's not really what a person needs who's in that state of mind. But encouragement is what people need. People need to know that God knows. Even if none of us can relate, because none of us can relate. If we walked in here, we can't relate to what he's going through sitting in a wheelchair. Isn't that right?
We can only imagine.
What I did, and I felt kind of helpless because I didn't have any contact information for him. The only way I had access I had was via this post. But I got, and he's in New Orleans, and I'm here. So I got on the phone and I called, you know, I reached out to people. I reached out to two ministers. I reached out to the minister of the congregation where he's a member of. I reached out to some other people who know him and who he trusts and knows and respects, to reach out to him personally. And I hadn't heard back yet. But my point is this: people are hurting, you know, and the people of God are not exempt. from the storms of life.
That's right.
And some of us sometimes get to a point, get to a place in our lives where it's so dark at that moment,
Yes.
you know, that we forget
Mm-hmm.
who we are. And we forget that the relationship that we have with God, the grace of God should sustain us in those moments, you know. And so the purpose of the series that we have started in the last class, the series is entitled Life Laboratory, being equipped for the journey. Life is a journey. And like any journey, you must prepare for the journey. If you were to go from Houston, Texas to Los Angeles, California, what would you need to do? How would you prepare? What would you do if you decided today, tomorrow I'm going to Los Angeles? What would you do?
Start planning and preparing myself.
Huh? I mean, how? Give me specifics of what would you do to prepare?
First, I would pray.
Huh?
You gotta plan your
First, I
route.
would pray.
See how far it's
You
going,
would
how long
pray.
it's gonna take you.
Well, praying, asking God for traveling grace is top of the list.
I would pray.
You would plan your travel, how you plan to get there on the plane, in the car, on the bus. You see what I'm saying? How much it would cost to get there.
Right.
Where will you stay when you get there? These are things that you must do to prepare for a journey. Well, there are so many people in this life who's going through this life, journeying through this life, and have no idea. They have made no preparations. They have no clue where they're going. They have no clue how to get there. And as in every choice, life is about choices, and with every choice, there are consequences. And so, consequently, people travel through this life making choices that has consequences that affects their journey. For instance, people get married. Marriage is something you need to prepare for. You need to be prepared yourself. You need to make sure the person you are marrying, is a person who's going to be going in the same direction you're going and having similar goals, and but people get married, make no preparations for the marriage, and then end up in all kind of problems. People have children unprepared to be parents. The consequences of that is not only does it bring stress to the parent's life, look what it does to the child. And so you have a child in this life who's, in some cases unwanted, in some cases unplanned. And so they go through deprived of certain things that they need to be raised as healthy, functioning, people. You see what I'm saying? My point is this: we need to be prepared for this journey of life. Because along the way, even when you make preparations, there's always something that comes up that you hadn't prepared for, that you hadn't planned and allotted for in this life. And even in those moments, if you have the right perspective on life, you can deal with that. You know? I know a lot of Christians who, are under the impression that because I'm a child of God, I am in covenant relationship with God. God is my provider. He's my protector. He's my all in all. And then when a storm hits, they forget all of that. You know, they're stressed out. They don't know which way to turn. They don't know what to do because they hadn't planned for the unplanned. You see? And so it's important. I see you, sis. It is important to have the mindset to be equipped. And how are we equipped? God's Word. God's Word equips us everything we need for this journey, including the unplanned. Because God's Word teaches us, Someone get Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. Who has Matthew 7, verse 20? Now, this is the Lord's,
7 and what?
he's concluding the Sermon on the Mount. Matthew chapters 5, 6, and 7, you know,
Oh, fine.
is the Sermon on the Mount. No. Matthew chapter 7. We're reading, we're going to the end of it. I'm just kind of giving you the context of what's involved. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus gives us, it begins with the Beatitudes, and then he goes through the attitude that the child of God should have in life. When you pray, you shouldn't do it so that everybody can see you. When you give, you shouldn't do it so everybody can see you. You shouldn't judge hypocritical. He goes through all of these things, and at the end of the sermon, he says what? Chapter 7, verse 24, beginning.
Therefore, whosoever heareth these things, these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken unto him a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And the rains descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And every one that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto the foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon the house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it.
Thank you. What I want you to see here is that as Jesus concludes the Sermon on the Mount, he says that there are two kinds of people. If you hear the sayings that I have given you and do them, I will liken you unto a wise person, who, when the storms of life come, they're going to beat upon your house, but you're not going to fall.
Yeah.
Why? Because you were founded upon a rock. The foundation for which you built your life on is a solid, stable foundation.
Yes.
But if you hear these sayings of mine and you do not do them, I will liken you unto a foolish person who hear, when the storms of life come, they beat upon your house and it falls. And great was the fall of it. Why? Because the foundation wasn't solid. Here's my point. In this text, Jesus is teaching that because you're a child of God doesn't exempt you from the storms of life. The same storm that happened to people in the world will happen to you as well. The difference is how you respond to it. You respond to it based upon my teachings, and if you respond to it based upon my teachings, you are on a solid foundation. Though the storms come and beat upon you, they won't root you up. They won't knock you down. They won't destroy you, because your faith is solid. Your foundation is solid. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so we need to be mindful when we're going through life,
Yes.
because sometimes, things trip us up because it happens to us and we're under the impression these kind of things shouldn't happen to us. Let me ask you a question. What do you see when you look into the world, when you look at our world and you see the way people are? I mean, nowadays, of course, it's always been that way, but when you look at all of the injustice in the world, when you look at all of the hatred in the world, when you look at all of the anger in the world, when you look at all of the fear in the world, what do you see? And then I'll tell you what I see. What do you see, Sister Ruby?
You know, I just see people don't have any faith in God. They just don't trust God, and they just living their life thinking that it's nothing gonna happen to me, and I'm just gonna just go on and do what I want to do. It's no love. One thing, number one, it's just no love, no caring about one another.
There's no love shown. A lot of love said. I
Shown.
love you, I love you.
Yeah.
Love is not
Shown.
something you say, love is something you do.
Correct.
Love is an action word. Go ahead, Sister
I see
Robertson.
there is no peace.
No what?
There is no peace.
Okay.
And I see only Christ.
There is a lot of chaos in the world, which is the opposite of peace. Absolutely. Anyone else?
I
You
see
watch
that
TV.
Go ahead, Sister Green.
I see that the Bible is being fulfilled. The time is drawing nigh.
Hmm. Okay. Let me tell you what I see. Okay. I see people who have no idea what the journey is about and no idea how to navigate it. I'm not the only one who sees it that way. Turn to Isaiah chapter 53. Someone else gets Matthew chapter 9, verse 35. And I'm going to show you that there's someone else who sees exactly what I see.
Isaiah 53,
Isaiah 53, verse 6.
verse 6. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way. And the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all.
Now, in order to understand that passage, now this was a messianic prophecy about Christ paying the price for our sin. When you read that whole entire chapter, Isaiah chapter 53, you're going to see all of that Jesus, you know, went through and why. And it was all because of us. It was all because we, and by we I'm talking about mankind, have gone astray, have strayed away from God's purpose, have strayed away from God's pattern, for our lives. In order to understand that, you need to understand about the nature of sheep. There are three things about the nature of sheep. Sheep have no sense of direction. Sheep has no built-in mechanism, no built-in defense mechanism, and sheep are dumb. Sheep are dumb animals. If you took a herd of sheep up to a cliff and one of them walked off the cliff, the whole herd is gonna walk off that cliff right behind it. Sheep has no sense of direction. They just cannot find. That's why they need a shepherd, because a shepherd leads them, a shepherd guides them, a shepherd protects them. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't have enough sense to do it for themselves. They don't have the direction to do it for themselves. They cannot defend against predators themselves. The prophecy says that all we, like sheep, have gone astray. But look at the last part. And the Lord has laid upon him. That's Christ. The iniquity of us all. In other words, Christ paid the price for all of us being astray. But the world, brothers and sisters, that's all of these people roaming around, no sense of direction, don't know what to do, where to go, how to get there. Matthew chapter 9, verse 35 beginning.
Okay, while you're looking for that, one good point comes out of that verse. The fact that the sheep knows the shepherd's voice.
Yes.
And they listen to his voice. We have too many of us who are listening to everybody else,
True.
get their life all confused, and then when they don't know nothing else to do, they're ready to hear what you said in another.
And that's the reason why a lot of us get all confused. That's the reason why a lot of us panic when stuff happens to us. That's the reason why a lot of us live in fear, because we're listening to everybody. We have to learn the voice of our shepherd, and we have to listen to his voice. And it's okay to hear other voices, but if the other voices are saying something contrary to what your shepherd's voice is saying, that's whose voice you should be listening to. Shepherd's voice. You see? Matthew chapter 9, verse 35 beginning.
And Jesus,
Jesus.
go ahead. Go ahead.
And Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogue, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
When he saw the crowns, and he had compassion on them,
Mm-hmm.
because they were
Scattered.
Faint.
Faint. Because they faint.
and they were hazard and happy,
Mm-hmm.
like sheep without a shepherd.
Okay.
helpless,
Help us.
like sheep
Mhm.
without a
Shepherd.
shepherd.
Okay.
Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into the harvest field.
Thank you. Jesus went into all of the villages and cities. He healed the sick. You know, he cleansed the disease. He fed the people. He taught the people. Why? And then when he looked out at them, he had compassion upon them. Why? Because they were faint and they were scattered abroad like sheep having no shepherd. Look into the world. I see exactly that.
Yes.
I see people faint. I mean, they're just running, trying to find it, but they can't find it because they're looking in all of the wrong places. They're scattered all over the place, you know, because they don't have a shepherd. And then he says to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful. There's a lot of work to be done, but the workers are few. What should the prayer be? Pray the Lord of the harvest to send workers out into his harvest. Brothers and sisters, there is much work for the Lord's church to do.
Yes.
There are a lot of lost people in this world. And I don't just mean lost eternally, in their sins. I mean just lost on this journey with no clue as to where they're going, how to get there, what to do. Just look around. Just it's everywhere. There are a lot of people hurting in this world. This brother I just met, that's just one. I know many people who are hurting, and a lot of them are in the Lord's church. So we don't have time. I'm getting emotional.
It's okay. It's here.
It's all right.
It's all right.
We don't have time to play,
That's right.
and we don't have time.
It's all right.
The devil, I'm all right. The devil is wreaking havoc in the Lord's church. He's got us fighting among ourselves. He has us distracted
Yes.
with all of this nonsense,
Yes.
which keeps us from being focused
Yes.
on what we should be doing. And it's going to take people who love the Lord, who love mankind. I'm sorry, I never did this before, but thank you. I feel the pain of a lot of people. I get a lot of calls. I get a lot of calls from hurting people. I get calls from people who are on the verge. I know people who jumped. So this is serious to me. The Lord's word is serious to me. And it should be serious to all of us
Yes.
because we are the only thing, we are the only light that a lot of people have in this world. God, people see God's light through us. And if our lights are dimmed, if they're out, what hope do these people have of seeing God? We are the ones to reflect His love. But how can the world see it if we're not demonstrating it one to another?
That's right. That's right. Man. So true.
And brother,
Forgive
while
me,
you're
y'all.
getting yourself together, we have to really be careful how we treat each other.
Yes. Yes.
Because you never really know what a person is going through. You know, it could be among us tonight. So we have to show that love one for another. God so loved the world.
Let me show you two passages, and then we're going to close for tonight because it's getting late. Someone get John chapter 13, verses 34, 35. Someone else get John 17, begin with verse 20, 21. I need to show you why it is important how we treat one another. John 13, 34 and 35.
Oh, you
A
command
new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if you have love one for another.
The Lord said, love one another. That word love in the Greek, agape, is an unconditional love. It's the kind of love that seeks the best interest of the object of your love. It's the kind of love that a mother has at 2 o'clock in the morning when the newborn baby is crying
Yes.
and the mother is tired and wants to get some sleep, but the baby is crying because the baby is hungry and the baby's wet, and the mother gets up and feeds that baby and changes that baby because she loves that baby. She puts the needs of the baby ahead of her own needs. That's the kind of love Jesus said we should have one for another. And then he says, he says, as I and the Father love one another. Everything Jesus has instructed his disciples to do, he modeled it first. He showed us how to love the way he's commanding us to love. Then he gives the purpose that the world may believe that you are my disciples. Question: how can the world know and believe that we are the disciples of Christ when they don't see us loving one another? How can they believe that love is the badge of our discipleship and that we don't wear our badge? How can they recognize who we are? You see? John chapter 17, verses 20 and 21. Now, John 17, Jesus is standing in the shadow of the cross. He's about to be betrayed. He's hours away from being betrayed and murdered and crucified. So when a person knows that they're about to die, they're not interested in unimportant things. I remember when my father was on his deathbed and he would call me to his side and he would talk to me. He didn't want to know how the saints were doing. He didn't want to know about, he wanted to talk to me about important things. Jesus is talking here about important things. Look at what was important to him. Verse 20 and 21.
Neither pray I for these alone, but for them also, which shall believe on me through thy word, that thy all may be one, as thy Father art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me.
Unity among God's people was important to Jesus. This is what he prayed for in his last hours upon this earth. He said, neither pray I for them alone, but for them also who should believe on me through their word. That's us. All of those who believe on Christ because of the words of the apostles, because of the written word and the record that we have and we obeyed, that's us. He says that they be one. Here is that model. As thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us. Purpose, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. how can the world believe that the Father sent Jesus if we divided?
My God. It's true.
There are things going on right now in the brotherhood that's tearing God's people apart.
Yes.
It hurts my heart. And it hurts me because I see the big picture. I know who's behind it. We are fighting among ourselves as though we are each other's enemy. We are not the enemy. The devil is the enemy.
Yes.
And he's using God's people against God's people
Yes.
to destroy God's plan. And we don't see it. And as a result, you have a world full of lost people who don't get what they need because we are not in a position to give it to them, to show it to them. That hurts.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And if it hurts me, I know it hurts God. I know it hurts the Lord who died for this,
Yes.
who shed his blood for this.
Yes.
Forgive me, y'all.
Oh no.
I'm through. I'm through. I just.
Okay, the truth is, God said, let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify the Father. Everything we do supposed to be a bright shining light to glorify the Father. And that's what God wants. And yes, you are touched from the heart because you see the wronging.
I love God.
Searching for a way to bring it together.
I love the Lord.
Yeah.
I love
God knows.
people.
Yes.
I know people need what we have. Let me give you one last scripture, Philippians chapter 2, beginning with verse 14, and I'm going to show you why this hurts so much. In addition to the fact that the Lord died for this, and we are being ineffective because we are not healthy among ourselves.
Yes.
A sick person can't heal another sick person. Philippians chapter 2, verse 14 through 16, I believe it is.
Do all things without murmuring and disputings, that ye may be blameless and harmless, sons of God without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world.
Who has a modern translation? Steve, would you read that for me?
Do everything without complaining or arguing, so that you may become blameless and pure, children of God without fault in a crooked and depraved generation, in which you shine like stars in the universe as you hold out the word of life, in order that I may boast on the day of Christ that I did not run or labor for nothing.
Thank you. You see what he says? We shouldn't be arguing and fussing and
Yes.
falling out with each other.
Yeah.
Why? Because we are the light that should shine in this dark world. The world is crooked, the world is perverse, it is dark, and we are the light in it. But if we are distracted, fussing and fighting, falling out, our lights are dimmed. The world don't have it. They don't see it because we are not letting it shine before men.
Yes.
And so God is denied glory. Man is denying what he needs in order to get his relationship with God right. You see? So there's a high price to pay for us not being what we should be. And it's time to be serious. You know, it's time to quit playing church. I cannot stand church politics. I can't stand nonsense in the Lord's church. That vexes me because I see the big picture. You know,
Yes.
and we really need to be, each one of us individually, you know, with this knowledge, with this understanding, we need to make a difference.
Yes.
Everything we touch, people should see God's light in it.
Yes.
And you don't have to be a preacher, you don't have to be a teacher, you don't have to be, some big person. Paul makes that clear, 1 Corinthians chapter 12. He said there's, the body is one body, but it has many parts. And there are no unimportant parts in the body. Every member of your body, seen or unseen, has an important function to your body, for your body. And if any member of your body ceases to function the way it was designed to function, your body's not going to work the way it should work. And so they are no unimportant. If you get on the phone and you call and encourage someone, that is a powerful thing. You don't have to teach, you don't have to preach, you can encourage, you can serve. You can go and provide, do something for someone that they can't do for themselves. That is a part of serving.
Yes.
God has gifted some people with that. So Yvonne has that gift. Sister Sarah has that gift.
Yes.
So we should learn to identify what our gifts are and use those gifts to glorify God and to make this world a brighter place. Someone sang a song years ago, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. I agree with that 100%. That is what this world needs. But it doesn't need lip service. It needs agape love. And that should come from us.
Yes.
Isn't that right?
That's right.
I'm through. Next time we'll go into the lesson that I had planned for tonight. But this series is about equipping people for this journey called life. And so I would pray that we would take what we learned in the class and our study and share it with other people. Because that's the way it works. Each one reach one. You teach someone and they teach someone and they teach someone, and before you know it, everyone got taught. That's how it should work. I want to thank y'all and for your patience. This has never happened to me before, but it just because
So clean.
Well, it's God's heart that's broken when He sees that.
it is. It actually is.
And you not only touch the young man's heart, you touch the whole group. Because we need to keep reminding each other about how God is. And this what you did. And it touched me and it touched all of us, And crying, you should cry, take the pressure off. It's a good thing. And we all sisters and brothers, we should cry.
Oh, I'm not embarrassed by it. I mean, there are some people who believe that a man shouldn't cry. Jesus cried.
Right, yes, he did.
And he was a man's man.
That's right. Jesus wept.
So I have no there's
I heard a preacher say it just today. We have been taught a man is not supposed to cry. And they think it makes you less of a man.
I don't have that problem.
But if you carry a bottle up in you too long, you do your heart attack. So what would you rather do? Shed a few tears and get release, or to carry it and have a heart attack?
Yeah, no, I don't have that problem. I really don't.
I cried last night when I stomped my toe. So ain't nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it.
There are just certain things that I'm really, really sensitive about. I have a sermon entitled "The Cost of Discipleship," where I go into detail the crucifixion of Christ and all of the agony that he went through. I have never been able to preach that sermon without breaking down and crying, because I see it in my mind. I see, and the stuff that he went through, you really can't even wrap your mind around it. In Isaiah chapter 52, it talks about how he was beaten so badly he was unrecognizable. When you see a picture of Christ with some stripes on his back, and that is not what it looked like. He was unrecognizable the way what they did to him, and I see this in my mind every time I study or teach about it. So, and I get emotional about it every time, But
that was.
Thank y'all, brothers and
Wonderful.
sisters. Thank
Brother
you.
Smith, with the Lord's Supper, what you just said, that's where our mind's supposed to
Yes.
be focused.
Mhm.
Yes.
Of keeping remembrance of
Mhm.
me,
Mhm.
of when we're taking that Lord's Supper.
Yeah.
That's where our mind should be.
Exactly.
And having the compassion and crying too of what he went through.
Mhm.
But what you had preached, I mean, what you was teaching on, with you have to be the one to continue to stand on the rock of encouraging and teaching God's word, because everybody is different. Everybody is going to take it the way they want to take it, But you just continue. You continue.
Oh, I plan to continue.
Yes, keep
I
on,
do.
just keep on,
I
because
do
God
plan
said narrow
to.
is the way, right?
Yes.
And there will be only few
Yes.
that will be able to
That's
enter that
right.
in.
That's
You know,
right.
God and Jesus and God already know these
Who's
people
called?
that's not
That's
going to
right.
change. When I heard that they shot this little 8-year-old girl in her mother's car, I just cried because it hurted me so bad. How could anybody have that much hatred to do terrible things like that? You know.
The word compassion, you read in Matthew chapter 9 where it says
Yes.
Jesus looked upon them with compassion.
Yes.
You remember when Martha and Mary, when Jesus wept
Yes.
for Lazarus?
Mm-hmm.
The word compassion is a compound word. It means to suffer with.
Yes. Yes.
So compassion means that if you are hurting and I observe you're hurting, it hurts me to see you
Yes.
hurting.
That's right.
Yes.
Compassion is the fuel that motivates action.
That's right.
If you can look at a situation, if you can look at a person who's hurting and who's lost and all these things, and you don't feel anything about it, you're not going to be motivated to do anything
That's
about it.
right. That is so true.
Jesus was a man of compassion.
Yes, he was.
That's why he always
Yes.
did.
Yes.
That's what we should be.
That's
Yes.
I mean, everybody don't have to be a crybaby, but you should feel something when you see people
Yes.
lost. You should feel something when you see people hurting, because that's what's going to motivate you to do something
That's
about it.
right. That's right.
You see?
That's right. That's right.
We live in a world where compassion is a lost.
Yes.
Yeah, there are not very many
That's right.
compassionate people in the world.
That's right.
You know, but we have to be. We really do have to be. So, yes, ma'am.
I have to say this because it's real heavy on my heart. About like 2 months ago, I was, the Lord put stuff on your mind and, on your heart. So about 3 months ago now, I just took it upon myself because I started sending out like, I want everybody to hear this because it's real.
Yeah.
I started sending like inspirational texts out every morning. I sent out 20. I sent 20. I don't miss it. So one morning, I was, just about doing my whatever I need to do, and I didn't get to text anybody. And so I got all kind of texts from the people that, that I always text every day and want to know, was I sick, was I okay? And they didn't really go good because they didn't get the text that I usually send them. And that just made me feel so good,
Yes.
And one lady told me, she said, this really stuck with me. She said, the text that you sent me, it was right on time. I don't know how you know I needed that text, because what I'm going through right now, I really needed that text. So I've been doing it like now for 3 months. It's been almost 4 months, and that made me feel good because when like I said, I didn't send it to them, and they respond back to me and want to know was I sick, is anything, because they was looking for that inspiration text,
That
and
encouragement.
I do it every morning.
Yes.
I don't miss a morning, and like I say, that morning I was just, just got busy doing stuff, and my phone was just full of, texts, sending, where the text at, where the beautiful text, where my encouragement word, and one lady said, my whole day was just messed up. She said they didn't go good because she didn't get my text, and that just made me feel so good. And I just want to say, you have to. Me myself, I was brought up old school around my grandmother, and I was taught from a little girl, if you can't say anything kind, don't say anything. And you need to say things that'll lift a person up, instead of tearing them down. And you need to treat people the way you want to be treated. I do it every day, and when I don't send them, I be lost myself, because I be feeling like whatever. So I just want to let y'all know that.
I need to give you my email address because I want to be added to your list. And you know what?
Like 20.
That's your gift.
Yeah, I know. Because,
And that's a gift. That's a spiritual gift. God gifted you with encouragement.
Yes, because
And
like I said, I wasn't even, I'm wouldn't even think about
Yeah.
that. And you know, I was just sitting there and it came across my mind. And I got a text from this lady. She said she had lost her mother. And I sent her an encouragement text that day, like about last year. And ever since then, I started thinking, and the Lord kept, every time it would come across, what I just, then it just kept. I said, you know, the Lord want me, this is what He want me to do. And this is what I do every day.
Yeah. I encourage each and every one of you to find your gift and use your gift. My gift is teaching. And almost everyone in here, I got to get your email address. You'll notice I send you emails all the time about lessons because, and I'm not doing that to try and impress anybody. I'm trying to share my gift, you know, of God's word, because it's God's word that's going to get us through this journey, that equips us for this journey. So I'm always sending out emails of lessons that help to equip us for this journey. You know, find your gift. Everyone in here, find your gift and use it.